What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex, and in this video, I want to talk about the 3 Ghostface killer theory that's been going around the internet. It's taking over, and I just want to talk about my opinions of it. If there's anything really there to get to get excited for, get too excited for, or whatever. But I've seen this a lot, and I think this is fair, and I think they're good conversations. So here's what I want to say. Okay, right off the bat, I'm not a fan of retroactively adding something to a film. Now, that can get a little messy because I do think a lot of movies, okay, or even games, I cover a lot of games, right? The idea is maybe when you start, you're starting small, and then as the franchise grows up, right, once it comes into its own and there's more entries, you start to add on to the universe in ways that ultimately you're going to interfere probably isn't the right word, right? But you're going to start to hit on some of the things that you've already done, and you're going to have to expand those things in a way that it may not make sense if you just watch the first movie or just played the first game. So I hope that makes sense to people, right? That's a difficult conversation that before I was recording this video, I was thinking to myself, well, what are some examples or things that I can think of or movie franchises that have also done this, right? Where they've continued on, and in that way or because of that, they've impacted the movies that came before it or the games that came before it, right? So it's a tough thing, and it's I'm not violently opposed to it because I think it happens so often. If you're opposed to it, you're gonna hate a lot of movies and games that have come out throughout history. You know what I mean? Or maybe you only like the originals, which is fine, and maybe that's the way you want to go. But I guess where I'm going with this too is, even if you look at Scream 3, I wasn't the biggest fan of the idea of Roman being kind of the architect behind the original stuff in 1. And although you can make a case that and I know I think Zach Sherry, right, when he made the video, he's talked about maybe the 3 killers outside of Drew Barrymore, of Casey Becker's house and all that stuff. And it's again, there's that divide where it's fun to talk about, it's fun to discuss, but is it practical, and is it really what Wes Craven and Kevin Williamson were thinking when they were doing it? And the answer to that last part is no. So now, why did I just say all that stuff for 2 minutes? Well, I feel the same way now. There's definitely an argument to be made that there were more than just, spoilers, Amber and Richie, right? I think you can make an argument. I think the biggest argument that's being made is the size of Ghostface. Now, I don't like that argument because it's just one of those things where it's kind of annoying that that's what we have. We have ghost faces that are, because they're stunt doubles, that they have to be, for some reason, so ungodly tall where it doesn't match whatsoever who they're trying to portray, okay? Now, if you want to spin that to assume that there's a third one, then that's your prerogative. And honestly, again, it's fun to discuss. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it, but the idea of there being 3 Ghostface killers in Scream 5 or Scream 2022, I just think is flat out not the case. I don't think, I guess to boil it down, I would say this, right? I don't think there were 3 killers in this movie. Now, does that mean in Scream 6 or in Scream 7, this is a trilogy, that they can't, again, retroactively talk about that first movie in the trilogy, so Scream 5, and kind of add things, right? Does that make sense? I really think they could do that. And now, again, my preference would be you do it in the moment. Again, there's that divide where it's I don't have anything violently against the idea of them kind of going back and saying, well, yeah, maybe Dewey's kill wasn't Amber. Maybe we want to introduce whoever this grand third killer was, and that's who it was. You know what I mean? Now, again, though, I think they wrote themselves into a pickle because Amber, gloats about it, so it's very clearly Amber, and that's the thing, right? So how can you make that argument? Well, maybe she was, hearing about it from the third killer. You have to stretch really deep the stuff that they did in this movie. And again, it's not really a Scream 5, 6 problem. This is a problem in general. When you do these things, you're stretching it where that wasn't the original idea. I would argue very, very strongly that their plan for this film was Amber and Richie. And while the directors have kind of been still a little hush-hush of who they really think is, in each place, they say the writers know. They have their own ideas of who they were. And guess what? their ideas are Richie and Amber. I don't think there's any thought from any of the four of them, right? 2 writers, 2 directors. I don't think any of the 4 of them, especially when writing it, going over different edits of the script and then filming it, I don't think at any point did they think to include a third killer. So again, my biggest point is, if you were to do that and tell us in the next movie there was a third killer, I actually think I'd have a pretty big problem with that, because A, no, there wasn't a third killer. B, okay, fine, there is one, you're telling us there is one, but now you really got to go back in 5 and say, well, does that make sense? And the answer, again, to me, is no. It does not make any sense to have included a now, again, like, I'm not saying 2 killers was the right move. You know what I mean? Like 1 or 3 or whatever. Like, they, it could have been different, and maybe it would have been better. Maybe it would have been worse. But my point is, it just wouldn't work. It just wouldn't make sense to tell us something like that later. Again, honestly, the Roman thing, the Roman thing takes away a little bit from Billy, because ultimately it was like Roman's idea to do it, and he kind of like got into Billy's head. And it's like, again, here's the thing. You did not know that in the first movie. Now, again, going back to the beginning of the video, you have to do those things sometimes, I guess. You know what I mean? There are, I would say, different times in film franchises where maybe you have to add something that, again, you're kind of thinking of on the fly. I guess my preference would just be to do it organically and in the moment. So honestly, if there was ever or I guess if I ever had a plan, or if I were to tell you like my thoughts going forward, I think do it for Scream 6 then. You know what I mean? No going in fully, okay? It wouldn't be represented in the script. It wouldn't be represented in what they say out loud to the press, to us, to anything. You know what I mean? But go into the next movie with 2 killers, but really there's a third. They know in their head, and maybe they leave some openings that you could maybe figure out. Okay, there was, this really doesn't make sense. And you know what? They're kind of being a little weird about how they're talking about it. Maybe there's a third killer. And then reveal to us in 7 that they knew when they made 6 that there was 3 killers. Does that make sense? That's what I would greatly, greatly prefer over, in my assumption. It is just my thoughts, so I could very well be wrong. I'm not saying, I'm always right. But my thoughts are they really never thought for 3 killers. So to do it, to say there was 3 in the next movie, feels fake, okay? It feels fake because that's not true. You never intended that in the last movie. So you're kind of, again, you're retroactively changing it. And you're saying, well, yeah, we can fit, like, we can stretch it a little bit to make it seem like, oh, well, maybe there's a third killer, and then we'll tell them there's a third killer. No, again, I would prefer you do it very organically. And again, the tough thing is, I really just don't think there's any specific, like, you can place Amber and Richie. I know there's been a lot of talk about that at Tara's attack. We've talked about Wes's and Judy's, like literally everything. Again, the Dewey thing, I know people don't want it to be Amber, but like, guess what? And I'm not saying this is like, they're right, we're wrong, or you're wrong. It is the way it is. Like, it just is that way. You know what I mean? That was Amber. I don't think you can just change it to say that was Stu. Yes, the person was bigger than Dewey. And Mickey, the girl who plays Amber, right? Mickey, I believe she's like 5'2", and David Arquette's like 5'9". So she's dramatically smaller than him, and yet she was very sizably, she was much taller than him in that scene, right? I get that. I get that that's stupid. I mean, I've called it out too. But here's the thing, though. We all said that in the trailer. We all said this better not be. Remember when there was even the thought of like it could have been Tara, right? That maybe Ghostface would be Tara. They would do something like that. And remember we were saying like, well, can a 5-foot person, who weighs 100 pounds soaking wet, can that really be, you know what I mean? But like we said that we were mocking them, and we ended up being right with Amber. You know what I mean? So like it actually turned out to be true. But again, you go back, like Charlie and Jill, do you really think they could have done what they did in Scream 4? No, this has been a problem. Okay, and again, like I'm not like attacking like people that are coming up with these theories. Again, I think they're fun. I think they're in good faith, right? I'm not saying anything against them, but to make it a theory now when it's like before have the same issues, maybe worse, Charlie was throwing around Olivia like she was a rag doll, he's like the same size as her. You know what I mean? So like, how is that even possible? So yes, it's fun, but if we're gonna do it now, why can we go retroactive and do it for 4? You know what I mean? So I get it. People don't like the Amber thing, but she gloats about it. That is clearly her. Like you know what I mean? It just is. And to say that it's not in the next movie, you know, it wouldn't work. That's what it boils down to. So let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Make sure, as always, you guys are subscribed to the channel. Hit the bell icon so you guys know when all these videos go up. If you guys want to follow me anywhere else, all my social media, including our Patreon and YouTube memberships, are in the description below if you guys want to check them out. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you all on the next video.